let's review some factoring. So starting with 4x squared minus 36, I notice that I have a binomial, something with two terms. So my two options are a difference of two square numbers, so I can figure out, are these both getting squared? Because that would be one method. Or I can start with the greatest common factor. So let's do both methods. So if I'm thinking about difference of two squares, I have to think of what squares to be 4 would be 2, what squares to be x squared would be x, and then what squares to be 6 or 36 would be 6. So I can write this as 2x plus 6, 2x minus 6. Another option that is pretty similar to this would be a greatest common factor. That's our other method for a binomial, so we'll just do an extra example with that. If we had just 4x plus 20. So this is added, not subtracted. So I can't use difference of two squares. Difference of two squares only applies if it's subtraction, and you have to have two square numbers, which 4 is a square number, but x is not, and neither is 20. So I'm going to use a greatest common factor, which would be a 4 times x would give me 4x, and 4 times a positive 5 would give me that positive 20. So there's our two binomial methods, a difference of two squares and a greatest common factor. And then reviewing a trinomial method, that is where you multiply to be the last term and you add up to be the middle term. This is called reverse FOILing. So we want to think of factors that multiply to be the last term and add up to be the middle term. So I want to multiply to be a negative 45, which means I have what kind of factors? Well, two positives multiply to be a positive. A negative times a negative also multiplies to be a positive. So to multiply to be this negative, I have to have a positive times a negative. To multiply to be a negative 45, I want to think of factors that differ by 4. So if I think about 45 minus 1 would be 44, so it's not going to be 45 times 1. Other factors of 45, I could do 9 times negative 5 is negative 45, and 9 minus 5 gives me 4. So there's an example with reverse FOILing. Because factoring is hard, I'm going to give you an extra trinomial example in here as well. So let's say we had x squared plus 10x plus 24. Well, I want to multiply to be a positive 24. So I could have a negative times a negative would multiply to be a positive, or a positive times a positive would also multiply to be a positive. So since I want to multiply to be a positive, it could be two positives or two negatives, but I want to think about the fact that I want to add up to be a positive as well. So I can't choose two negatives because that would add up to be a negative. So it must be a positive times a positive to multiply to be a positive and add up to be a positive number. So thinking of factors of 24, 24 plus 1 would be 25, so I'm not going to use 24 times 1. If I think of 12 times 2 is 24, but 12 plus 2 is 14. So I'm not going to use that. So maybe 6 times 4 is 24, and 6 plus 4 is 10. So there's my factoring adds up to be a positive 10, multiplies to be a positive 24.